it's the small moments that you don't think are going to bend or break you. And you have to find that
Mm.
inner motivation. I think we get in our heads about, I have to be this and I have to be that. And oh, I have to be type A and I have, like, no, you have to start. You've got to jump, like, jump in the right direction. But sometimes you don't know, like, take calculated risk. But at some point, you've got to stand there and make that choice. And it's okay if you're not ready to jump. That's cool. But like, if you're then walking back and gonna continue to talk about, oh, if I would have jumped, then turn back around and go jump, because at some point you've got to take that leap of faith. There were many times I did not have, I didn't see the next step, but I just knew that I needed to keep going and I was doing the right thing. And I was doing it over and over. And some days it was boring, or some days it was hard, or there was things that hit you in the face, but you got to keep pushing through and going. And then there's also the time where you got to decide, this is not going in the right direction. I need to pivot as well.
Yo, this is the Streetwise podcast, where we help you level up your game, level up your leadership, and level up your life. I'm your host, Matthew McReynolds. I'm a multi-brand franchisee, and I'm a franchise consultant, which means I help people find, launch, and build their ideal franchise business. My main goal is to help you get off of zero and become the person that your dreams need you to be. Buckle up, get your popcorn ready, let's go. Streetwise Nation, we've got Cynthia May with Beem Light Sauna here on the Streetwise stage today. Miss Cynthia, how are you doing today?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited about this today.
Likewise. I usually don't get nervous before hopping on these. I used to, but I got to tell you, my heart was thumping right before we hopped on today. I'm
Mine
really
too. We're
excited to talk to
matching.
you. So before we dive into it, this is something that I'm actually super curious about. And I hope this doesn't throw you off, how did growing up in a military family and your experience with homeschooling, how has that affected you as a leader and a franchisor?
Wow, you've been like digging. That's like top
Little
secret.
bit.
No, I'm joking. I'm sure it's on a podcast. I think that was hugely impactful. I was the youngest of four. And so I had to go with the flow with that in a sense. It was like, all right, you do what we're doing. But my dad made everything an adventure. We moved anywhere from
Oh,
every 9 months to 4 years. And so rather than it being this sad thing when we were leaving somewhere, it was like this next big adventure. And we would, as we were traveling, like we went from California to Kansas and we drove with 4 kids and we went to all these different places and we were going to see Dorothy, like he made everything
wow.
really adventurous, but it taught me to be able to pivot pretty quickly, and say goodbye, and still say goodbye in a happy way with opportunity for what's next, and then be able to go in somewhere, meet all new friends and start over. And I think that was huge in adapt. Any entrepreneur is going to tell you, you have to pivot. And
Man.
yeah, you just do. You've got to pivot. And the quicker you can do it without, because you can get stuck, and so having that ability to pivot when needed and not being overly flustered by it. Not that I'm just like, just crazy resilient, but like, you have to be able to pivot at different times and think quick about it. And so I really do think that, the discipline that he instilled in us, and when you start something, you finish it, and you finish strong. And then maybe you'll say that was the last time I'm going to finish that, but I finished it. And so, starting as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of times you're like, where's the button? How do I get out of here?
Come on.
And you can't,
Escape.
and it's like, you got to keep going and pushing. And so I think that perseverance through that, his determination, that commitment to what you've started, and seeing that through, was huge for me. And then being able to move somewhere and start fresh and look at it with, a smile on my face, an opportunity, that's really helped a lot in where I am today. And then he was a Marine. So, Marines are leaders, and
Absolutely.
there's drive and tenacity. I've never met a Marine without tenacity, and I think that goes hand in hand with business as well. So, your upbringing has a huge impact on, I think, your adult life and your journey through your career and your personal journeys as well. So I think that's no different for me.
What an amazing answer. My wife is one of seven, her dad was not in the military, but coached in the NFL. And so they moved around
Yes.
quite a bit. And I like how you said the word resilience. And I think the ability just to pick up and
Yeah.
go is something that, for me, growing up in one, community
Mm-hmm.
from being a baby to 18, I get so nostalgic, and it's hard for me to kind of break away from
Yeah.
opportunities. I'm curious, as an adult, do you long for that fresh start, or do you kind of crave having a home base? How does that
Yeah,
affect your
kind
psyche
of a little
now?
bit of both, but definitely, I think I crave the change more than just having a solid, a foundation is great, but you'll see, one of my sisters is like, I am planting myself here forever, and this is where I'm staying. And we've been in North Carolina now, I think 7 years, which is crazy. But I'm always like, you ready to move? And like, I just mean like move to like the neighborhood down the street. Like my husband's like, where are we going? And I'm like, I don't know, let's just move houses. So no, it definitely has stuck with me and wanting that change. And I think that's, part of Beam's story as well of I was ready for that next adventure. And I think part of those opportunities coming your way is having that attitude of readiness. And sometimes it's life's circumstances that force you into it too. I think we always talk about I was ambitious and inspirational, all these things. And then sometimes just life throws things your way and
Man,
it forces you to pivot too.
facts, facts. I'm a big believer that our pain leads us to our purpose, and it's moving through those hard times, the pain points that guide us to do the things that we're actually called to do. I can totally see how moving around, fresh start, that kind of like creates the neurons of an entrepreneur, just always being ready to pivot, always seeking the new shiny thing and
Yeah.
being ready for it. But the structure of homeschool, did that curate you in any way?
Yeah, it's so funny. People will be like, "Oh, you were homeschooled,"
Right, right.
and I definitely came from the day where like you could say that, and there might be some validity to it, because it just was, it was a little different. The internet wasn't what it is today, and so yeah, my mom homeschooled us partly because we were moving around a lot, and so it was less disruptive. And I really gotta give her all the credit because homeschooling 4 kids in 4 different grades and keeping them entertained without an online program behind you, I'm like,
Wow.
oh, you are killing it. Because I just that patience and love. So what I realized when I went to public school eventually was my mom had tailored my entire learning to how she had figured out how I learned and tailored that so it felt easy. There was an ease to it and it just flowed so well. I loved it. It was amazing until I reached the point where I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do homework. And she's like, yeah, you're going to school, like that's cool. You cannot do that. But yeah, it gave, again, that you would go into these situations, there would be homeschool groups, and I'm really feeding into that, like, oh, you homeschool, but like there are homeschool groups and you go and you meet new people and everybody from different walks of life. And so it was hugely impactful. And then I loved experiencing public school, and I thought that they wasted a lot of time. I'd be over here done at 12 o'clock, and then we're 15 minutes between class and all of that. I think that looking at your own family, you're saying, you've thought about it with your kids, and looking at that and, your family structure and what they need is so important. But it can be I look at it as a very positive experience, and I'm very thankful for it. And I'm thankful for a mother who would take that much time and love and tailor a program specifically for me. So that was awesome. And then I think it was really good to go to public school also and not have that, not have somebody tailor it. And it's like, no wonder you're struggling because there's one system and you want us all to fit in the same box, and we don't. So I think it was good to
Facts. Come
see
on.
those two different things. And then we won't go down this dark forever hole, but I do think the education system needs to upgrade. It needs innovation and to adapt, because we're missing so many talented young men and women who they're just not connecting in that traditional school form. And so I think it's sort of dimming their light in a sense. And you have to be
Wow.
resilient. You got to go through it. But gosh, man, that experience to be able to have someone tailor something to your abilities and strengths, that confidence that it gives you, just there's a level of security you feel, but also freedom and being able to be truly you and really celebrate your unique gifts. And I'm over here like, yeah, we should change it, but I don't know how, because, teachers are phenomenal, and to deal with all the different kids of all ages and different stages, hats off to them. They do a phenomenal job, but I do think it's time that it evolves, and because we're dimming so many young kids' lives. I really feel
Man.
that.
No, I appreciate that. And I agree. And I am so passionate about business ownership and just entrepreneurship in general and franchise ownership because of the opportunity that it's been for me. I started as a franchise owner at 25, 26 years
Wow.
old, and just have been able to grow so much. And one of the beautiful things now, being 9 years in, is I get to see my kids experience that life. And right now we have our kids in a hybrid program, so it's a little mix of both.
I love
But
that.
yeah, I just love the opportunity to teach young people what it's like to build something on your own, and the creativity
Yeah.
that can be sparked from that is a truly beautiful thing. So thank you
Yeah.
for speaking into that random
Yes.
question that I just threw at you. I
No,
really
I love
appreciate
it. I love it. That's what
that.
it's about. Awesome.
Yeah. So okay. So let's get back on track before the teacher reprimands me, even though I feel like somebody's
I
listening.
know you're about to.
Okay. So explain, you are the CEO and founder of
I
Beam Light Sauna.
am. I think
Explain to
so.
me your day to day. Like, what does that even mean? And I'm sure
Yeah.
that's changed from when you
Yeah.
guys founded from until now. So maybe explain today and then bridge the gap for me. I'd love to understand the progression and how that role has evolved for you.
I think of a CEO. Ever since I started my first business several years ago, which was a hair salon, I thought of myself as, founder, CEO,
Okay.
and what that looks like. So that's definitely evolved as I've grown and learned and continue. But when I think of just CEO in general, the closest comparison I can think of is a coach. I grew up playing sports and team sports. I think that's great for kids, whether it's dance or solo sport or team sport. But when you compare a CEO to a coach, and you think about a coach, and you have a team and players that you have to have, the right player in the right position with the right skill sets to complement the rest of the team and where you're trying to progress to. And when you get those things right, you create a winning team and a winning dynamic. And there's a lot of hard work in it, and synchronization and communication without even communicating. But you as a coach, you have to lead that and show that vision for that. And so I think that's very similar to a CEO role. And sometimes I try to remind myself of that too, to just simplify it, and like,
Sure.
okay, this is comparable to a coach role. So I have so much to learn still, so much, I'm just a baby in the CEO field, and always trying to learn and evolve. But, I look at my job as really having the vision and lighting the path ahead for our team, our franchisees, the customers, even, because it all trickles down. But creating that direction, and same thing, putting the right players in the right seat and creating that culture that is contagious, and then that flows into the franchisees, owners who you bring into your network, and then that flows into the teams that they create, and then that flows into the community. And so really having that core foundation is so crucial to our business. So day to day in a emerging brand that's growing rapidly is never the same and never boring.
Sure.
But I try to keep those fundamentals, in the back of my head. Like, if you stick with the basics and fundamentals, there really is true success in that. And I think we get caught up in all this extra stuff, but when you tear that all back and peel it all back and you go back to the basics, I really think that there's just so much to that, because it can be overwhelming. Like I said, I don't have it all figured out. So day to day looks very different. Today I'm on a podcast, you know, and so that's what, you know, that's not the whole day, but you know, I'm involved. My team, we are in office together, and that's worked really well for us.
Nice.
And so we're really involved in each department and really collaborative. But we always keep the customer at the forefront of what we're doing. And when we start to lose sight of that, that's where we always anchor back to is, okay, we came up with all this stuff, but does that impact the customer in a positive way? Are we keeping the customer front of mind? Because then that trickles all the way through your whole system. So yeah, it's evolved. If I take me back from what I considered CEO of my first business, and I actually had a larger team than I do currently, but then my team's expanded into franchise owners and that network, which is a lot bigger. There's so much that I learned, whether it was, you know, falling flat on my face, hard mistakes, or, you know, those wins that help you throughout. People are like, oh, you just made it overnight. And it's like, what? Like, I've been working on this for like 20 years, you know, overnight success. Like,
yeah.
you know, it's all of those hardships, like of learning to be a manager and doing it so wrong, and then learning how to do it right and getting tougher skin along the way, but still staying humble and self-aware and listening. So there's so many things that I think can contribute to leadership throughout your life, from, you know, the time you're really young, from, like you were saying, from that military background, homeschooling, to hardships that you had along the way, businesses that failed or made it. So all of those contribute, and you can either take them, learn from them, do better, or you can sulk in all of your failures and stay there. And it really is a choice, you know, and some things are out of your control. They just are. And then it's what you do with those things, you know, and the opportunity that you look at.
Come on.
Yeah. So it's, you know, it is. People are like, well, that happened to me and that wasn't my fault. Yeah, that's like every day, you know, like, but it's what we're going to do with that. And you're going to have bumps, you know, sometimes you're going to have full boulders coming at you, and you got to learn to dodge them and go around them.
Yeah.
So
dodge them, take them to the chin, jump over them. Yeah, I always say in entrepreneurship, you're going to catch a lot of L's, and it's your job to turn the L's into lessons and not complete losses. Well, you said something that was interesting. In EOS, a lot of my listeners are familiar with EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, and it talks about the visionary and the integrator. I heard a new way to describe it today, and it's basically the maker versus the manager, where the manager is somebody who beats the drum. You know, they work on the business when they're in the meetings, when they're face to face, when their calendars are full. And then the maker, they actually work better when their calendars are empty, because they're able to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. I'm curious, on your journey, was there ever any issue kind of internally with figuring out which role you should be in a particular moment? And if so, how did you navigate through those?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, before CEO, I was COO. And so I was very much the doer and the maker. Is that what you said? Or the doer. I was the doer.
The manager. Yeah. The beating the drum. Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely have fallen back into that. And then, you know, I think it's important to really look at, like, I hope that I'm a really good CEO for Beam. And I feel that I am, but I don't know if I'd be a great CEO for another brand, you know? So I think looking at what does the CEO success look like for the CEO at Beam? And that could be very different from another company. And so I will say there are times where I fall back into that manager role, because we're small and we're growing and emerging, and there are times where there's a need on the team. And so I think it's paying attention to where your brand is and where you're growing, and is that hindering you to getting to the next step, or is that helping you along? And sometimes you got to fall back a little bit, take a step back, let somebody else shine or move forward, and then you can transition back into that. And so that somebody else might be like, what is she talking about? That's all right. But for us, for Beam, we have to do a little bit of that. You know, yes, I'm always looking ahead and at the vision and the next steps that we need to take, so that kind of like that coach role, like I have my players on the field and they are grinding and working and killing it. And I can see from above, like, okay, shoot, we need to shift here, do this, or next practice, we got to do this. So I kind of do a little bit of both. And so I don't know if that is part of just my transition into that growth. And that's sort of, I'm in that transition phase into the next, or if that's, partly just what Beam needs. And so that's what I have to do. But I do think it is a trade-off of taking that fall back and then knowing when to step forward. I love when other people shine. I like to take the back seat, which probably sounds crazy as a CEO, but when it's the right time to do that, I just love to see other people. I mean, my team is way smarter than I am. Their skills are just, they're exactly what we need for where we're going, and or for that. They're what we need for that next step also. To me, it's a happy medium of both, but I'm also not running a 10,000 person company. And so I think, depending on the company you're running and what you're growing and producing might change the way that you need to, lead as a CEO.
That's great. There's a lot of illustrations out there if you think about success or leadership as a pyramid, and a lot of leaders get it wrong because they see themselves at the top of the pyramid with the team all underneath them, hoisting them up, when in reality, the pyramid should be flipped.
Yeah.
There it is, with the leader at the bottom supporting and holding the team up. And I've got another thing that you said made me think of, I've got a good friend. His name's Robert Hunt. He wrote a book called Nobody Cares Until You Do. And it's about leadership and accountability. And he talks about walking up or climbing up the mountain that is leadership and success. And in order to move up, sometimes you have to walk down. You have to go through the crevices. You have to maneuver through the hard obstacles in order to truly reach the top. And so you spoke into that really beautifully. How do you build accountability as you build out your team as the leader? How do you focus on that to make sure that you're still plugged into the vision, to the mission of the organization, and continue to curate all of that around you in your circle?
Yeah, I try to create a culture of accountability. And so, from the interns, like I feel accountable to an intern, I really strive for that environment where respectfully we call each other out regardless of the position that we're in. And I think the key word there is respect, and if you have respect and you've created that culture of respect and listening and empathy, you're able to be held accountable from, your VPs to your interns, all in there. And so that's what I try to create. And, do we nail it every time? Probably not, but always focusing back on our purpose and our values is always where we start. It's where we start our meetings. It's where we start our interviews. And I know companies talk a lot about their purpose, their values, their vision, and we really don't have it written on the walls, not right or wrong, but we just speak to it often. And I think there's accountability in that. So I'm able to take, if I'm making a big decision, I can put that up against our values, our set of values we've decided to live by as a company, and our purpose. And does that fit within it? So it makes those decisions a lot quicker and really simpler. And when you're feeling lost and stuff, a lot of times it's because I didn't go back and say, you know what, let me put this up to my values and see if this is still right. And then all of a sudden that decision is like, whether you like the outcome or not, or you want to go that way, it's like, man, there's that accountability factor. That's huge, because a CEO, a lot of times it's like, where's your accountability in there? I have advisors and board members who also hold me accountable, but I really look to my team for that. So like, I creating that environment of like, no, call me out. Like, what are you talking about? Again, in a respectful way, but that was what we strive for. And I've felt that my team does hold me accountable, and I'm thankful for that, because I need that still. We're growing together. I don't have it all figured out. And so you need other people in your business that are in different places in their lives and their career journey and their leadership goals. I have people on my team who want to be a CEO, and I love that. We need that. And so those people hold me accountable too. But yeah, I think that's a constant, struggle, and something that we get so busy as entrepreneurs, but if you're not careful, you can end up, you can be at the top and you're there by yourself, and then it's like, shoot, my team's back there kind of things. So, I try to really stay on top of that and stay, humble. But when you're working with, if you stay close to the product and the people and the service and what you started, that customer, I feel like that is also hugely accountable, because go put yourself back. If I go back in a studio and I'm a sauna attendant, like, all right, cool. I was making decisions. I wasn't thinking of that sauna attendant. So I need to figure that out, and get back
Sure.
on track. So yeah.
No, this is cool. We could dive into this stuff at a high level all day. Before we get too off, I want the listener to understand and hear from you what Beam is and how trials and tribulations helped you establish this business. I think is the
Yeah.
best way that I would love to hear you kind of navigate that part of the journey for the audience.
So I can't really speak to what Beam is without talking about our purpose. So
Sure.
our purpose is to leave the world a little brighter. And, I get often people come back and they're like, a little? Did you say that right? And I'm like, yeah, no, I said that right. The little is my favorite part. I fought hard for the little. But because the little is what makes Beam Beam. When you talk about a franchise network and growing, expanding within that, all of the businesses that start, whether they own one location or 30, the first location, that's their small business. And so the little things that they do in that business impact the team that they create and bring, even attract. And then that impacts their community and all of those, whether it's, remembering your customer's water that they liked and putting it in their room, or that they want an extra towel, or that their mother passed away a few weeks ago and you remember. Those are all little touches, but think about the impact to that person's day and then multiply that by, we have over 300 locations coming. And so if you multiply that, all of a sudden that little turns into a massive, massive impact. And so I really can't speak to it without talking to that, because it's who we are and it makes Beam Beam.
Sure.
And just kind of going into those trials and tribulations and was that your question? What got us to where we are today?
Yeah.
I think, again, through my upbringing, whether it's homeschooling, military brat, I was a teenage single mom, and that was massively impactful to where I am today. And those hardships, there was a lot of time through that I was alone. I lost a lot of people in my life who I thought were going to be in my life forever. And then my circumstances changed and it didn't fit their life anymore and they dropped off. And so there's some hard lessons in that, but it gets you tougher skin. And then it gives you the ability to start to realize, who do you want to bring into your life, and who do you want to be in other people's lives? So, that was hugely impactful. And then I had this responsibility of, I was an only parent and I didn't want my daughter to pay the price for the choices that I had made and being born into an only parent home and a teenage mom. And so I have to speak to that, because that's truly what brought me to where I am today. And that took me on a journey. And so had to pivot very quickly. I had like 8 months to pivot during that time. Nothing like a timer, like having a baby. So, I had to switch all my life dreams, goals, everywhere I was going to provide for her. And so then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, I can be uncomfortable and I can do this, and I can, even have fear, and I can still do it. And so there were some really hard lessons that were learned there, but I think that shaped where I am today. And so I sort of Beam was was a really second career. So when you talk about going back to the beginning, I was sort of at the top of my career when I owned my salon. We were doing really well, 7 figures. It was awesome. And then decided to start over for a lot of different reasons, and had to start back at the bottom. I mean, I didn't have a college degree to fall back on. And so when I say bottom, it was like nothing. I went from very successful at the place that I was to nothing, and building that back from that. So that's very humbling for sure. And so much learning through that. I mean, I started when I started Beam, which was originally Sweat and Salty, and we rebranded to Beam and then franchised. I was the sauna attendant. I was a sales associate. I did all of those positions, not only so that I could understand what I was asking of my employee my team member, when they got into that position, But I needed to. I was starting back at the beginning, and I wanted to build those out. If I was asking my sauna attendant to flip a room in 2 minutes, I really did want to know if that was a realistic request, and it wasn't. And then I'm doing it. I'm like, man, I can't get this under 5 minutes. So like just living those positions and knowing what that's like and what you're asking of your team member. So all of those things impact, who I am, the type of leader I am, and impact the organization that we're creating.
Yo, thanks for listening this far. It's at this point in the episode that I want to talk about Streetwise franchising, teaching, training, building. Streetwise franchising. As a franchise consultant, it's my job, it's my absolute pleasure, and it's my mission to help aspiring entrepreneurs find, launch, and build their ideal business. I've been a franchise owner for almost a decade. I know what it means to struggle. I know what it means to build a team. If you're ready to get off of zero, if you're ready to build something for yourself, visit streetwisefranchising.com. Let's get the conversation started. Don't wait until tomorrow to build your future. It starts today. Streetwise franchising. Stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question or not, but
you did partially. No, yeah. I love it because all of this like dives back into your heart, which is the main point of the show anyway. The piece of the question that you didn't answer, at least I didn't think, I got to go back and listen.
I know, I
rambled. What is beem?
Yeah.
What is beem?
I was getting to that.
Yeah. You were right on track.
So that's like the heart behind my heart of how it even came to fruition. And then beem is, and that's where I was going with, to leave the world a little brighter, but it's beyond just health and wellness. When I think 5 years ago about health and wellness, you were really talking about, when we looked, I think as a consumer, at health and wellness, you were looking at fitness and diet. It were the two biggest components at that point. And we were just missing, we were missing that preventative side and then that recovery side. And so I think you've just seen us evolve and realize that, like, yes, you have to have the tenacity, you need to work hard. And then recovery is so crucial. And then how you prep your body is so crucial. And so there's a lot of factors that beem plays into that, that really, I think, bring health and wellness full circle. The journey to actually getting open was, my daughter had Lyme's disease and was impacted, and infrared was something that was hugely life-changing for her. And I saw that impact in her life, and it definitely had a change in me, and was like, man, other people don't know about this. So our, part of our impact is all of those little things that we do at our studio level, but then also bringing awareness to health and wellness in a different light, and really exposing that there's, another side to that, and that you can take control of your own health, and not, we still need doctors and all of that. So it's not that we don't need that, but there are other things that you can be doing to really take care of yourself, in a lot of different ways. And so I think you're seeing that in the health, and you're seeing these IV places and cold plunge places. Like, everyone's like, so is infrared it? And it's like, no, but it depends on where you're at in your health journey. We've decided as a brand to anchor ourselves in light, and we've really anchored ourselves there, not to not evolve and get better and all of that, but just because light has so many benefits, and there's so much education behind it that still needs to get out there, that we don't feel like we're limiting ourselves at all. We're able to expand in other light modalities as we're educating that consumer, which is huge. But we are cutting out some of the extra noise. But I love the IV places. I love the cold plunge spaces, because it's bringing that awareness and education to the consumer that, yeah, you can do these things before you work out or before you do these other, and it's hugely beneficial to what you do. And then you can recover in a different way and really bring that full circle. And so beem is here to impact communities and educate and create an experience, and it has a wide range of benefits. So, we have 6 core benefits that we live by, and each one of those touches many areas of people's lives. And so I'll get that thing like, oh, this is the end all be all. And it's like, no, it's where you are at in your health journey. But yeah, we have people from that have skin conditions all the way to autoimmune diseases, muscle recovery. We have, being in Charlotte, North Carolina, right by the lake, we have a lot of NASCAR drivers who prep for racing in these saunas. So things you don't even like, I had no idea when I opened that I'd have like race car drivers. So, not as, you don't think you're being as impactful as somebody with an autoimmune disease. So we're really about impacting our communities. And we want to be the leader in health and wellness in the light space. And in that sense, being able to impact the people that come into our locations and really touch their lives, whether that is just that little thing you made their day a little bit brighter. That is success to us, because if you, even just us going around and no business, if you make somebody's day brighter, you feel better, they feel better, they tell
Facts.
someone else about it, like we say little, but that like keeps going. And that could, for them, that could have been, that little moment could have been actually way more impactful and life-changing than you ever know.
Facts.
Regardless of the bit, whether you're cleaning windows or painting somebody's toenails or, whatever it is, like there's, you can live far beyond just the service that you're offering. And it's, have you created a culture in a company and organization that wants that extra reach? I want to touch people that never step foot in a beam and don't pay $1 to any of the studios. And how do we get there? Like, how do we do that? So, and that's going through other franchise partners who have decided to become owners and expand and believe in that vision and dream and also see that impact.
I love it. I love it. I want to talk to you about the franchisees and the relationship there, especially as you guys are still technically emerging, but you're growing so fast. I'm just curious about the space itself. And I guess the first thing I want to ask towards it is, you guys had a choice to add a bunch of different modalities. You could have, especially in franchising, a lot of these businesses, from my seat as a consultant, they talk about multiple revenue opportunities and all these different gadgets and gizmos and opportunities to bring in money for the franchisees. But you guys seem to be so focused on the light therapy. What's the strategy behind that? What benefit do you guys provide for the franchise owners, but also for your customers that you might not be able to if you were doing more of a shotgun approach?
I think we live in a world where we have our phones, we have technology. Look, I was struggling with technology getting on here because things are just popping up at you. We get into decision fatigue, and we think we want it all. And then, for me, if I go even into Target, Walmart, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? There's so many choices, and I'm like, I'm just going to back out of here. But for us, part of it, I think, comes from my first business, and I had a salon, and then people want you to add nails and massage and all these other things. And I had done a couple, oh, everybody wants you to add this. And it's like 2 people that told you, but like that feels like everyone. And I did it and it failed. And then I knew hair, I knew how to hire, I knew how to train it, I knew what it needed. The competition where we had about 120 salons in a 3 to 6 mile radius. So that meant we had like 3 salons on our block. I was not reinventing the wheel with that brand. So it was, what can we do to be in the top 5? Again, I'm not reinventing hair cutting now. Can I bring that to a different level? Can I create a different experience? And so we differentiated ourselves by the experience we created in there. We were still cutting hair, but that gave me a different look on just competition and what you can bring in a business as well. And so those learnings made me hyper focus in this business. So when I started it, I knew that I was going to hyper focus in that, but you also have to be aware of what's changing around you and not be so stubborn that you won't, change and adapt to innovation. But I did feel like the light space was a big enough space to add other modalities and revenue streams. It's not just membership based. It's not just like you have apparel, you have gift cards, you have drop-in services, you have packages. So how can we create other streams of revenue within this modality? And what I found when I had my salon and we had one product line and we hyper focused in hair, is my entire team knew every product, which means we sold so much product because we knew it and we were speaking truth to it. We weren't like, I think it does that. No, we knew what it did and how you use it. And we weren't afraid to recommend something else either, because when you know it and you're confident in it, it gives you just this different level of just knowledge that you're able to share. And I don't mind. We have a cryo place right down the street from us, and I will absolutely recommend people to go there. So it's, for us, hyper focusing means that, if you think about just a studio level, the franchisee can hyper focus and learn one thing, and then they're not, oh, I need plumbing and I need this and I have to learn this machine and I have 5 different guys coming to fix it. So even just from simplicity of being a franchise owner, and for a lot of franchise owners, this is their first time, not all, but this is their first time dabbling in business. It's kind of entrepreneur light in a sense. And so like they can get behind that and understand that. And when you can really know one thing and know it super well, I really truly believe that you're able to crush it at that one thing. So we have anchored ourselves there, and we are innovating all the time within the light space. And there's plenty of modalities within light space to do that. So
Gotcha. Okay.
we have anchored there, and I'm seeing awesome concepts pop up that are doing multiple things, and like they're crushing it. So that can be done too. It's not that ours is the only way, but that's where we've really found our sweet spot, and simplicity runs through our blood, and that's staying true to what we started.
Love it. Oh, that's awesome. That was super educational for me. What's been something that ever since you started franchising and getting franchisees in, what's been something that has surprised you in either a positive or maybe like, oh, maybe we need to rethink this sort of a way?
No matter how small, like my first business had tons of, before Beam had tons of artistic people who were, creatives and all this, and amazing people. But it's like, it made me want like less people in the business, but no matter what, this is a people business.
Okay.
And so building those relationships through, your team and then up through your franchisees, I think, the communication between the franchisor and the franchisee is something that still also needs some innovation. Everyone is remote for the most part in some type of way. And so how do you keep those clear channels of communication and where words don't get lost and mixed? And I think we're still working on that and how that works. But, realizing that no matter what, it is a people business. No matter, most of our studios have 2 to 3 people in it. So you're like, oh, that's like not, but that doesn't mean that's the size of your team. I might have 10 people on my team, but 2 to 3 people working at a time. And, how can I build that culture where they feel motivated to serve the customers coming in? And for a lot of them, the positions it's just a step to their next position or to college. So how can we create this environment where they're able to learn, grow, and thrive and feel a level of commitment, but also ownership in that to their next step? And so we've really been able to do that and create those cultures, and that's hugely important to the business. But I would say the people side of it is always, there is no, that I know of, business without some type of people, and getting always learning how to communicate better and understanding that I don't know what you've gone through today. I don't know, all the things. And so coming with empathy and a listening ear, and, toning down my attitude or my comeback or, you know what I mean? And just like sometimes
Sure.
you just got to listen. So
Yeah.
as you grow rapidly, and like we have, you start out with 2 franchisees, and now, there's 87, I think. So
Wow.
keeping that communication over a really short period of time of growth is a challenge in a small company that grew. And then just franchising in general, like I really wish somebody would have handed me an FDD like 10 years ago and I could just start reading it because, there's just so much to learn on the franchise side. So I was really fortunate that I had some great partners and advisors that were able to give me sort of 10 years of learning in condensed 2-year
Nice.
time, and really just absorb that. But it's awesome to learn about these different avenues. And franchising is really an interesting and cool space because it does give this ability to do entrepreneur light, but I don't think that's a fair description, because these are owners of businesses and they have, it's their business.
Facts.
They have to run it every day. And so, we try to be really transparent through that process and not make it all, a field of roses and butterflies, like there's some boulders in there that you're going to trip and hit your face on. And you have to get up and you got to do it again. And you have the framework and support of a system, but you are running a business, and you've got to really get out there. And there are going to be days where you're like, what did I do? What did I sign? No, regardless of the business, what did I sign up for? And then there are days where everything makes sense and it all falls into place. And continuing to remember that it's a choice to wake up every single day and decide to go out there and hustle and listen and love and care and all of the different things. It's a choice. All of those are choices that we make regardless of the things coming at us. So communicating that throughout the process, I have people that'll tell me, are you trying to unsell your business? And it's like, no, I'm just trying to let you know, like, this is real. Like, is your family ready for this type of impact? Positive, negative, the good, the bad. It's looking far beyond just the numbers and the growth and the goal of 800 open, whatever it is. It's really taking those people that come into your life, and like, you'll grow only as far as your team is willing to take you. And so who are you bringing on to do that with? And they create your culture all over wherever you're growing, you know? And
come on.
So it's really important to create that really foundational and good culture at your home office, because that attracts the type of people in the business that you're going to grow regardless of the service and the brand you have behind you.
So I love that on so many different levels, because at the high level, you're talking about the leadership, the resources, the mentors, the people that are in your circle. Low level, I've always talked about with Mosquito Joe, and as I've built up my teams, nobody that I hire is going to be on my staff forever. They're going to find another opportunity somewhere, someday. It's just going to happen. So knowing that, it's my job to make sure that I steward every single person that comes in so they leave in a better position than when they came. And so I really like that. The other thing that you said that I really liked was sometimes you'll unsell the concept, or it seems like that. I find that as a consultant, I find myself talking people out of franchise ownership much more than I'm talking them into it, because I'm super passionate. I love what I get to do, but it is hard. I'm getting punched in the face every single day as a current franchise owner and a franchise consultant. And so it makes it difficult, but you want to provide the most authenticity and the most true value to people that are coming in. So with that said, what type of franchise partners do you look for, when you're looking to expand and grow in this way?
Yeah, I mean, we have our core values, and I know I've talked about values and purpose, but again, when you go back to that, all of a sudden it creates so much clarity. You can have this perfect avatar and think you've nailed it, and then you're like, huh, that did not work out how I thought it was going to work out. And so you need to have that. You need to have that. But when we start every D-Day, Discovery Day, and we're talking to potential prospects about the opportunity, we start with the values. And when you start with that, if there's not alignment there, then that's great. That's great, because either you have it or you don't, and so that weans out people very quickly, as well as it shows you who's going to be partnered with you, because you are going to have tough times. You're going to have hard days at your studio and your business that you're running, and you're going to have times where you just do not understand what corporate is doing, home office is doing, and so being able to say, okay, but we agreed that we were going to have love or kindness, gratitude in these moments. And so, when we're having those tough conversations, we'll start back at those values. And really what we found is the people that truly align with that. I always go back to tenacity, because you just got to have it. You've got to have it in a business, and not the tenacity. Everybody has tenacity, but a lot of people have expirations to their tenacity, and you need the type of tenacity that doesn't have an expiration date, because I'm not telling you that you start today in a year it's going to be easy. What work did you do between that, to get the freedom that you want to get? And so if you're not willing to put in that work today, but a year from now, you might be in the exact same spot. So really aligning with those core values. But this is not just a choice of me choosing you, it's you choosing us. And also, I do like to dive in deep. Like, have you led teams before? Where are we going to need to pour into you? And is that one of our core competencies? Because I'm going to tell you you straight up if it's not, like that may not be where we may not be able to add that to what's missing from what you need. And so that makes us not the right choice a lot of times for that franchise partner. And it's a two-way road there. They have to choose us and align with us, and we have to choose them and align with them. But I really think that it starts with the values. And again, you want to have your avatar, you want to have, what does your brand need? What do we need from somebody coming in to really have success? And so those fundamentals we've really nailed down, and we've tried to align them very closely, if not with our core values. And you have to have that tenacity and then ability to come back to a hard conversation and have it respectfully, and have, how do
Mm.
you disagree? How do you deal with conflict? Those are important factors. So I want people to interview me. I want them to say, do I want to hang out with her for the next 10 years? Do I want her to partner with me? Does she add value to my business? Do I add
Mm.
value to her business? Because that's the only way we grow and win, is aligning in those things. And I want people with different strengths and abilities that are far different from what we have. But again, finding that alignment in there. And so, yeah, there's a lot of learning and growing, and so many conversations and listening, and taking a step back and saying, did I bring my best self to that conversation? Did I really hear them out? And vice versa. So it's a relationship game. I mean, it is a relationship game from the time, with my team members to my franchise partners to their team members as well, and then out to the community. Because if any of those starts to go south, it's like, you got something, something's off. So, but yeah, I want people who want to work and want to see this in their community. And when you do that, also, we haven't talked about the money side. The money will come too, that I will have people, what do you want to do? I want to make a lot of money. How do you want to do that? Do you want to sell French fries? What do you want to do that type? So finding too, do they have a passion for health and wellness, and what is their drive behind
Mm.
getting in the business too, and really nailing that in and finding what their driver is for this. When you hear people and they'll just say, I want more time with my family, let's talk about that. Because when do you want more time with your family? Do you want it right
Mm.
now? Because you're not, that might not be it right now. Do you have 3 little young kids that need your attention, and this is going to pull on you? So yeah, it's sort of, it's interviewing each other and seeing where they're at, and that's, it may be the right business in the wrong time, and that's okay.
Man.
That's okay.
Yeah. You hit on a lot of good stuff. I recently talked to a candidate who I thought would actually be really good for Beam. And she had just retired, and we started digging into the why. Why is it that you're talking to me today? And when we dug into it, I couldn't not say
Yeah,
that, being in a business and investing in a brand new concept and starting something from scratch, even though it's a franchise, you're going to have to sacrifice
yeah.
on the time that you have to actually being retired. She spent the whole
Mhm.
first 20 minutes of our conversation talking about how she's retired now, how she loves traveling, how she loves going to, and she didn't want to give that up. And so she
Yeah,
wanted to start something and just not be involved. It's like,
yeah.
that's a possibility with franchise ownership. I don't know if you can do that as soon as you want to. And
Mhm.
we continued to talk past it, and it wasn't the right time for her. And it's having those conversations. You said something else about tenacity. In 2019, my wife and I lost our daughter, and she was stillbirth. So at 38 weeks, lost
Sorry.
our daughter. And that was year 4 into operating our Mosquito Joe business.
Wow.
And it wiped us out,
Wow.
right? Emotionally, physically, for months. We had to turn it back on at some point and really define why we were on this pathway. Why are we building these businesses? What is it that we're trying to accomplish? And so it's not about if you get punched in the face, it's when. And
Mm-hmm.
you hit it right on the nose when you talk about tenacity, for sure. So I just appreciate you so much for being vulnerable and being open on this platform. My last official question for you is, when you look at somebody who is wanting to get off of zero and wanting to make some sort of a change, whether they feel stuck, whether they feel lost. How do you coach that person up, maybe through words of encouragement or some constructive criticism? Either way, how do you coach them off of zero to take that first step?
Yeah, I do believe in coaching and talking people through it. I don't believe in I believe in helping create that path, but at some point that person has to decide, are they going to take that leap
Mm.
of faith or take that sacrifice? Like you said, the one woman's in retirement, and like there's something you have to give to get, and what are you willing to give to get? And so if I motivated you out of zero, is that going to carry you on?
Oh, come
At
on.
some point, you've got to dig deep and decide, do I have that inner motivation? Because at some point, you're not going to be able to call me and I pick up at that exact moment to motivate you. And so you do have to start to look inward. And we all have, you'll see, motivational speakers or people that are really, truly impactful in your life. And there are those times where it just turns a switch on in you or changes a dial, and it's what you needed. So I don't want to take that away from the words that we use. They're so impactful. But I feel like I used to spend so much time trying to motivate and motivate and motivate.
Oof.
And what I've really found is I'm going to create a culture that attracts that person who sees themselves getting to that next step. Whether that be, in franchising or joining our team, because motivation only goes so far unless you've found that in yourself and you've figured out where that comes from. Because when those days are dark and hard and you're having a hard time seeing the light,
Yeah.
I could be, doing a whole circus act over here, and that might not pull you out because you have to find it in yourself. And so, and again, that comes with timing. Sometimes the time is not right. And I grew up with a Marine dad. So like that military, like, all right, I'm getting up and I'm going to run. Okay. Like you find it. Sometimes you need that, just that extra push. And so we're here, just even as a franchise system to give you that framework and that support and to create that vision. But man, I want your vision to be like bigger than mine. And I know I'm supposed to have the biggest vision, but I want somebody to be like, yeah, but are you thinking big enough? Because that's that motivation on those hard days. I'm telling you, when that toilet overflows and like you're in your business, that brings you to your knees some days. So, those are the things people think. I have CEOs coming and working and they're being brought to their knees from a brick and mortar because, and I don't mean that in any kind of dig. It's the small moments that you don't think are going to bend or break you. And you have to find that
Mm.
inner motivation. So it's not that I don't want to talk people into that next position. And then I would also say those people that are starting, I think we get in our heads about, I have to be this and I have to be that. And I have to be type A and like, no, you have to start. You've got to jump, like, jump in the right direction. But sometimes you don't know, like, take calculated risk. But at some point, you've got to stand there and make that choice. And it's okay if you're not ready to jump. That's cool. But like, if you're then walking back and gonna continue to talk about, oh, if I would have jumped, then turn back around and go jump, because at some point you've got to take that leap of faith.
Yeah.
So it's knowing about where you are, and there were many times I didn't see the next step, but I just knew that I needed to keep going and I was doing the right thing. And I was doing it over and over. And some days it was boring, or some days it was hard, or there was things that hit you in the face, but you got to keep pushing through and going. And then there's also the time where you got to decide, this is not going in the right direction, and I need to pivot as well. I don't know. I think life circumstances get you out of zero sometimes. I think, yes, sometimes that motivational speaker, but I really try to create a space where people can come and they can create that vision and that growth. They can see themselves growing far beyond what maybe even I saw, because we've created that environment where they can bring their talents and skills and they're appreciated and accepted, and we feed off of that. So I guess that's not motivational for the people at zero, but you got to dig in, because at some point somebody's not going to motivate you. And then what do you do? So you
Come
got to
on.
find it in yourself. Yeah.
Let's go.
Thank
Outstanding.
you.
I got nothing else to add.
Oh
Cynthia
my
May, what did I miss? What did I
God.
miss? Somebody that was a professional at this thing. What are they
I
asking you?
Man, I think it's I think you have so much to school me on. You talk to so many founders, owners, franchisees, and I feel like it's what did I miss with you? Because you can teach me a lot. You're talking
Wow.
to so many different brands and hearing, and you're just piling that in your head of knowledge. And so I think if we missed anything here, it was more about your journey and what you've learned and how you can help school us into that next level.
Wow. Well, oh my gosh, that was I appreciate that. You are more than welcome to come back and we can flip this thing around. We'll
I
just
would
turn
love
it.
that. I
You
would
can
love that. I
that
don't We should
maybe
do
that's the
that.
next season is I
That would
bring
be
people
cool.
on. Okay.
We'll
You made
see.
me
I
think
don't know
about
if I'm like the host, so we'll see how that goes. That could go wild, but hey,
I'm up for it.
that's entertaining.
I'm for it.
Let's flip the script on you next
I'm
time.
for it. Yeah,
Let's
I'm for
go.
it. Seriously, seriously, anytime.
I love
I
that.
started this thing, the whole Streetwise concept is I can take the resources that are around me, I can
Mm,
curate them in order to level myself up. And if I can be a conduit of information to other people, it makes a master of myself because
yeah.
I've always been, the phrase, jack of all trades, master of none. But I recently heard the full quote: Jack of all trades, master of none is oftentimes better than a master of one.
What?
And
I love that.
I am truly trying to embody that. And you're right. I have gained so much value from talking to people like you. So thank you
Thank you
so
so much.
very much. You've represented yourself and the brand Beam
Thank
Light
you.
Sauna. You guys, if you're interested, if you're listening to this and you feel encouraged in any way, please reach out to me. I will introduce you to the team. You just heard from Cynthia May. And until next time, stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Peace. All right, everybody, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for making it to the end. Hey, if this episode added any value to your life at all, please like it, share it, give me a 5-star review. It's the only way that this show is going to gain traction and help more people achieve their dreams. If you're ready to start your franchise journey, visit streetwisefranchising.com. Let's set up a time to talk. Hit me up on LinkedIn. Until next time, stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Peace.